Hello, welcome to Cable Plus Property, your number one online educative platform on all issues related to land and landed properties. As always, at Cable Plus Property, our aim is to ensure that every Nigerian and non-Nigerian has easy access to information about land acquisition, land procurement, building construction, registration, documentation, and obtaining planning permit. In this episode, it's quite interesting because I'll be speaking with a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Hakeem Adeniyi Ogubambi. My name is Oiza. Let's go. In layman's language,
Yes.
When flooding incident occurs, what should residents of such places do? What actions should they take to minimize it?
If I'm going to advise anybody when flooding event occurs, I'll tell them to run and move away from the because you cannot determine the power or the force behind the flow. If you think the water that is your ankle deep, when I say ankle, just near the leg there, it's not going to push you down. It's a line. You cannot estimate the velocity, the power, the force behind that flow. So, the most important thing is you move away if it's a moving water. Now, if it's a stagnant water, you have to be careful. You don't have electrical power on, or else you get electrocuted because water conducts electricity easily. So, unless they've taken the power away, now you now say you want to salvage some of your So the first rule is when there's flooding, when it's raining and the water is rising or moving. So the first rule is try as much as possible to move away. Maybe when it's raining, you cannot come back and say you want to salvage whatever. So in the real time, before the rainy season, there's what they call the flood early warning systems. So I think government does that too on a regular basis. You have to make noise, do public advocacy to say people living near water bodies, people living near canals are likely, people living inside wetlands, they need to plan for relocation just for the period of that rainy season. Then after you can come back. And that's what they are doing for, I think that's what Lagos State is doing for River Oguna. Okay, River Oguna is going to rise beyond levels. So if you are living by the banks, please kindly leave so that you don't experience some bad experiences.
So you're saying nothing can be done to minimize the situation for people who are, living in flooded areas, who cannot afford to probably relocate or move to another place of residence at that time?
In the first instance, what do we call flooded area? If you build on the wetland, which government has no plan of putting up a canal there, definitely you are going to suffer the consequence of such action. Unless government comes there to say, okay, I'm going to give you a solution. I'm going to put. But if the planning says no development here, and you've gone there to build, definitely you suffer the consequence. So, but you have to note one thing: development is always superseding the effort of government to put infrastructure. That's it. And you have to note one thing: there are no farm grounds in Lagos at all. There are no good farm grounds. So all we have are wetlands, water bodies, and everybody's doing one form of reclamation, one form of modification. If you go along the shoreline at Lekki, you see all sort of modification being done. They are creating all sort of islands here and there. They're doing sand filling all over the whole place, and without actually looking at the consequences of such action. Even government is involved, not only individuals. We have government actually doing things.
The rainy seasons are here. What advice do you have for Lagosians to prevent flooding in this period? What preparations should Lagosians make to prevent flooding?
Yes, the first thing I'm going to say is that most Lagosians should try to become whistleblowers. They should try as much as possible to tell government that, okay, well, there's a canal beside us, so it's already filled up with garbage or debris, so please come on, remove it. Then they should also try to look even in their immediate surrounding that they are not dumping refuse inside the drain, or the drain around them. Then also, they should help government to escalate the advocacy in the sense that those of them who are right on the wetland, they should begin to see how they're going to move away, so before the rain comes. But some people here in Lagos, like the Lagos, they believe that it's their culture to actually live in flooded areas. So that's why they build all the steel structure all over. You know, the steel structure of those houses on wooden planks. So they build them all over. So they're not bothered. Some people will say maybe they have a god there that they worship, and they're not afraid of water. It's just like I remember during the time when the river used to flood so many areas around the road. We normally tell them to move away, to get away from flooded, but they're always refusing to move. They're always refusing. So they, because having stakeholders meeting with them will tell them, look, their forefathers have been living there and nothing is going to happen to them. So
some areas in Lagos are prone to flood, but people still buy land to build even houses on these areas. What kind of developments do you think should be allowed in such areas?
There's a rule as part of the policy of Lagos State that if anybody must build in wetland or areas prone to water bodies, when I say water bodies, canals, maybe even the lagoon, you must seek for a permit called drainage clearance from the Lagos State Ministry of Environment, Office of Drainage Services. You must get that permit. That permit will advise you on how many meters you have to leave for the canal, or what and what you are supposed to do, or if the place is not buildable, they will tell you clearly. So the challenge is there's no synergy or coordination between different government agencies. When people bring their building drawings to physical planning or LASPA is to kind of look at it and say, okay, this place looks like a wetland. They're supposed to refer such people, say, go and get a drainage permit, or else we are not going to go ahead and process permit. But such synergy is now missing here and there. So I think they need to reawake. They need to do a kind of reawakening, and so they must be meeting regularly. Or in the alternative, Office of Drainage Services can decide to post a drainage engineer to LASPA to actually check this. Okay, this thing is along our canal, it's not along our canal, and stuff like that. So there are so many areas where you can actually try to store the impact of flooding before it happens.
So are you saying that people can still build houses in such areas if the drainage system is in check?
Exactly. There's no way. Structures are meant to be built anywhere. You can look at the pumps that they built in Dubai now. They built it on what's the name of that Gulf again? Is it the Arabian Gulf or whatever? It was built there. But they needed to fulfill all environmental and structural conditions. So what we are not doing right is that we don't take our time to actually put a lot of effort to get the right design or the best output out. I don't know whether maybe people are trying to make easy money here and there. They just say put it there, do it like that. So at the end of the day, they will suffer the consequences of such action. Yeah.
You've been mentioning land reclamation, in our conversation, and I think you agree that this is happening, or it happens because there is less available land for development. So what is your view about land reclamation, especially in terms of its implication now and in the future?
In a situation where you have water bodies, wetland is a definition of area temporary or permanently flooded. So in a situation where you have unavailability of land and we need to develop, there's nothing wrong in doing land reclamation, but what is wrong is not doing the reclamation well. Now, Lagos State does not have a reclamation policy as we are speaking now, so it's a challenge. So, and people are not properly regulated on what to be done in land reclamation. The first rule in land reclamation is they must provide drainage, because you are displacing water from where you are doing reclamation. So this water that you have displaced, how do you account for it, especially on wetland? How do you drain it out? Okay, let me give you an example of the negativity in land reclamation. The Lekki Peninsula. Lekki Peninsula starts from mobile headquarters there by the side of the Itene Canal, all the way to Ibeju. Now, in Lekki Peninsula, you have some lowland, then you have some high ground. The Lekki Peninsula road that you are seeing, that road, that from Oniro to Epe, has a minimum height of about 3 meters above mid-sea level. So if anybody at all is going to build, they're supposed to build at that height. At some points along the road, you have 4-point-something meters above mid-sea level. The government scheme that we have there is about 3 meters above mid-sea level. You discover that if you are driving from the Lekki road itself into Admiralty, discover that you are nearly at the same level as the road. That's essentially what reclamation is all about. Reclamation must be done, especially in coastal area, must be done in such a way that you are higher than the mid-sea level for you to drain properly. Now, having said all this, some people will now go behind again and start. If you look at Elegushi naturally was not reclaimed and they built, so they got into a problem. Now they are now doing another sand filling after the Elegushi. You know the problem with what they are doing? They are creating problems for people living near the Atlantic Ocean, because they are supposed to drain northwards. Nobody drains into the Atlantic Ocean because of some coastal restriction. When I say coastal restriction, it has to do with coastal behavior, characteristic of the way coastal shoreline behaves. So, Elegushi are sand filled further. So, when you sand fill further, you are now increasing the energy to drive the flow from the. You see, when you design drainage channel, like I said, origin part 4, there is a particular energy that you have to use to drive the flow there. So, but when you increase the distance further to the part 4, you need extra energy to drive it. And the only energy that we use in driving flow in Lagos State is gravitational energy. Most of the time, you use elevations to drive it. So now, the elevation that you are using to drive water to the initial shoreline of Elegushi, you have finished it. Now, when they increase it, that is, they are increasing the hydraulic length again, you need to now go backwards and increase the height for people living near the Atlantic Ocean shoreline. You discover that it's not possible because the place is already built up. So this is another problem. So the strategy there is that you have to design for an interceptor drain before you actually do. You must have designed properly during the reclamation, before you start your reclamation, to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We will have looked at several, and I'm trying to give a picture of what is happening in Lekki now, which nobody is actually controlling. Everybody is just building and will create flooding problems in the future for others. People who naturally are not supposed to have flooding, but they will get that flooding in future. So when we're saying is flooding reducing or increasing, I cannot say.
So unfortunately, increasing.
It's increasing, but.
Do you think one agency can solve the problem of flooding in Lagos, and what kind of cooperation do you suggest for agencies of government?
I have tried to answer that question by saying that there must be synergy, there must be a kind of links, coordination between all the agencies all the time, so that, as a matter of fact, in the real sense, you may not actually need a drainage agency to solve flooding problem. You have a well-equipped planning and development control agency, because they will have seen the future before that. But because of the peculiarity of Lagos in the low-lying area and wetland, you have to come up with agency to deal with issues relating to river flooding, because I know Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development may not be able to tackle river flooding. You have to have an agency to deal with the coastal flooding. Then you have an agency to manage the wetlands too. The Lagos wetlands are not actually being managed well. They are allowing everything and hurry to capture the wetland and turn it into a normal land, which creates problems.
We'll go on a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Cable Plus Property, the hub of professionals in the built environment and the #1 online educative platform on all issues related to land and landed property. At Cable Plus Property, our aim is to ensure that all Nigerians and non-Nigerians have at the tip of your fingers, free of charge, all information on landed matters. We provide you with all information you need to know about land procurement, land documentation and development, planning permit procurement, building construction, and so on. Join us today for free by subscribing to our YouTube channel, like and follow us on our social media platforms, and check us on our website www.cableplusproperty.com. Together, we shall make our environment better. Spend and build right.
Welcome back. It's still the Cable Plus Property Show, and I still have with me Engineer Hakeem Adeni Ogubambi. As a prospective buyer,
Yes.
who wants to buy a piece of land, what are the things that, to look out for so you don't become a victim of flooding?
Yeah, first of all, if you want to buy a land, first of all, look at whether you have vegetation. Like, do you know mangrove vegetation? Or let me use the Yoruba word. The vegetation associated with okparan. Immediately you see that, then you know that there's a lot of water underneath there. A lot of water. That's one. Two, look around whether they have very good drainage system there. And if they don't have, that's an indication. Also, the other most important thing is, if you want to buy your land in Lagos, just wait till the rainy season comes. So you go there during the rainy season and look at the characteristics of what
Of the area.
Then you now make up your mind. Because flooding is a recurrent issue. It's going to be a recurrent, as you are solving one flooding problem somewhere, another one is emergent.
How about someone who is looking to rent an apartment?
If you are looking to rent an apartment, well, if you are looking to rent an apartment, okay, let me give you one example. Oshakpa, London. It's not I'm trying to discredit the property companies there or the property. Oshakpa, London is when the Lagosian family, I don't know whether it's Lagosi or what's the name of the other family, sold. They encourage everybody to build at the wetland level. the Lekki Peninsula Expressway was far, far higher than the mango swamp there. So most people built right on the something. So by the time other developments came around, because you have other estates surrounding Oshapa London, they blocked the flow line. As a matter of fact, they reclaimed higher than them, than Oshapa London. So Oshapa London now found it extremely difficult to discharge. But despite that, people are renting houses there. You just go there during the rainy season and you just discover these beautiful homes are being flooded. That's the truth. But the later developers, I mean, people who came in to develop later, they further compounded the problem of the area in the sense that they reclaimed higher. So some people have demolished their first house there in Oshapa, London. Some people have packed up, but the flooding problem is there.
It's recurrent.
Because, like I said, we have the way we manage our flooding system here, that we use gravitational method. When I say gravitational method, we use the height of the ground, we use height of the water, then part of the discharge. But mostly in Lagos, we use the difference in height, the difference in elevations to drive our flow. So if somebody is higher than you downstream, definitely there is no way you can discharge if you are using gravitational method. The only thing to resort to is that maybe you use pumping. And pumping is complex. Most important thing, you must have constant electricity. Then also you have to do what I would call a kind of wall and contain the water somewhere so that there's no other water coming in as you are pumping out. Because if you allow that water to come in as a perpetual pumping, you are wasting your time. You're not going to flood anywhere. So you want to buy property, go during the rainy season. I said, maybe you want to rent a flat. Preferably if you I will still continue to use the Lekki Peninsula as a reference, in the sense that so many things are happening there and government is not regulating it. And so it's like a time bomb waiting to happen. It may not happen in 10 years, it may not even happen at my lifetime, but something is going to happen. If you don't have already you have erosion going on and government is trying to control it. They stopped that just after what's the name of this beach? Alpha Beach. But further down you are still having the erosion going on. It's going all the way to Leko in Ibeju. All the way you have erosion going on towards all the ports that they are building there. You still have constant erosion going on.
Is it correct that if you want to rent an apartment and you can see wall lines, like water lines on the walls, is that an indication also?
Now? Okay, that's you are looking at an apartment and already you have a house that is already experiencing distress from flooding. Okay, there's what they call capillary action. When you build inside water tends to rise naturally, will try to flow. The reason why you're having capillary action is that the water may be trying to find a balance between other water bodies around. So all the time you must have the capillary action there. You see the lines, water lines there that to tell you that, okay, well, maybe there is water bodies somewhere around there that this water level is trying to catch up. Naturally, flooded houses now, you see all the greens around there. When I use the green, you see the green inside the building itself. Algae trying to grow, and you have the vegetation outside there. So trying to.
Where can a citizen go to report activities that may cause flooding, and probably obtain information that would help them in deciding to buy a parcel of land and prevent flooding?
The question is, do we have such structure? What I said one thing earlier, that if you really want to build in water in a wetland area, the best thing, take a copy of your survey and go to the planning department or officer of drainage services and ask them to chart that thing for you, whether it's inside the drainage wetland or drainage alignment or drainage right of way. That's your first port of call if you really want to prevent your house or your development being flooded in future. The other thing is that you can ask LASPA, Lagos State Physical Planning Permit Authority, to actually forward your document to Ministry of Environment to help give their own assessment. So you have two MDAs to go to. Whether you go to Ministry of Physical Planning, then LASPA, then go to Ministry of Environment.
So, in what area can a developer or a prospective developer engage your services as an hydraulic engineer? You know.
All my life, I've been doing a lot of. Formally, I've been doing a lot of drainage design network. I can point my fingers to several drainage systems in Lagos. I've actually been involved with in terms of design even before the master plan came out, and also which have physically supervised our construction. If the construction of all the drainage crossing on this Lekki thing that was upgraded from Oniru all the way to VGC was actually done under my supervision. We did that between 2009 and 2012 when LCC was building the road. So we actually gave them all the drainage. Then the same thing with the Lagos Badagry that you are seeing there. I designed most of the crossings for them and the alignments where they take. So I want my services. All you have to, if you are starting afresh, I can help with reclamation design, drainage design, layouts of the estate, and I get involved with master plan, city model, master plan. I offer services there. I serve as consultant all the time.
Do developers who deal with low-income buildings like bungalows or 2 stories, do they need the services of an hydraulic engineer?
If you are building Lagos now, because of the scarcity of land, people are not building bungalows. Per se, they are trying to build some kind of high-rise building because the cost of reclamation is quite exorbitant. So, low-income earner cannot even afford. Okay, if you're going to charge you for the cost of building, the cost of reclamation will be a consequential factor inside the cost of building. So low-income earners may not be able to afford building on wetland or reclaimed area. It's just like, okay, let's look at reclaimed areas in Lagos. How many low-income people can afford it? Reclaimed areas in Lekki, they can't afford it. Reclaimed areas, even the Lagosian that I've just mentioned, even reclaimed areas are on mainland too. Not so. Lagos. When you say low income, you can only put low income building maybe outside the islands of Lagos. Maybe put low income building in Ekpe, or you still have some high grounds in Ekpe. Here in Ikorodu, you still have some high grounds there. Then the same thing going towards even Ota. If you don't have land along these areas, or the western part of Lagos, you still have some high grounds where it can be low. Or if you want to build on the islands, I don't see anybody building on the islands without actually doing foundation improvement. Foundation improvement is what we refer to as reclamation too.
What is your take as an engineer on the order from the government on the restriction of buildings in Ebutimeta, Lagos to 3 floors? What is your thoughts on that? And thinking about its implication on the society, what do you have to say about that?
I think government should not have made order. All they needed to do is to escalate their capacity to manage what they call foundation engineering. Ibutemeta, Ibutemeta is like the foreshore of the Lagos mainland itself. And if you look at the soil properties there, you have what they call compressible clay. And the deal is, you, as government agency, you just go there and say, okay, oh, this is the kind of foundation that we can allow for you to do development here. Your foundation may be in form of soil improvement. First of all, do soil improvement, or you may decide to use piles to take it to farm ground further down. So coming out with such a policy is such that they are trying to stifle economic development. Ibutemeta is a prime location. If you look at the origin of Ibutemeta in the past, you know, the average civil servant that could not live in Ikoyi were taken back to Ibutemeta to come and live there. And you can see that it's well arranged. It's the foreshore that emerged. And when I say foreshore, you have mixture of water and compressible soil, highly compressible soil, which I will refer to as peat. And to put a structure there, you must properly understand the soil properties. From the soil properties, you now understand what kind of foundation you need to put there. So I've said it, you can put any structure anywhere, inside water, inside any form of soil property, but you must have studied these properties so in order to come up with the proper foundation.
As long as you check all the boxes, you can have your
So
development.
what the government is supposed to do is to have the experts, soil experts, and say, okay, here and there, these are the conditions that are applicable, that are available, that you can do. So just putting abstract ban on development. In the real sense, government is supposed to have taken over the Ibutemeta for sure. Redeem is trying to build an iconic project there now. Have you heard about the Coastal Church? That's what they're building now. If you pass on Third Mainland Bridge, see them sinking piles over piles, different piles. They want to build a church. It's like I said, an iconic church. It's going to be, I'm very sure by the time you're entering Lagos, when they finish that project, everybody will be looking at that property and saying, what's happening there? You can get there by boat, you can get there by helicopter, you can get it's iconic. If you go to Dove Channel, they normally advertise the iconic project there, but it's on way. They're building now. And by the time Redeem, you know the Redeem headquarters is there. By the time Redeem finishes the construction and the property, I'm very sure the Okobaba Sawmill there may likely be displaced naturally. Since they are resisting government now for moving, they are resisting, they don't want to go to wherever they want to put their backbone or wherever. That iconic project is going to cause a lot of displacement. And so this is where government too is supposed to be looking at the shoreline there. That's why I say sometimes government sleeps and allow development
to go on.
Yeah, to proceed. By now they're supposed to have seen what is on ground here, what kind of development can we allow. Okay, so you have to escalate the capacity to deal with the coming trend. That's just what I advise Minister of Fiscal Planning to do. But if that project comes on ground, the entire facade, the entire landscape is going to change because everybody wants to be part of the economy.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. We would like you to say something about the Cable Plus property endeavor, give some pieces of advice as well.
Yes, this is the right step in the right direction. It's only that my wish for you is maybe you have your cable property TV station where people will
getting
subscribe
there
and say they did this, they need advice, they need technical expertise here and there, so that you can always offer them. Okay, that's where I see you going. Okay, that should be the pick.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the conversation. Remember to hit the subscribe button below, share this video with friends and family, and head on to our social media pages on Instagram and Facebook at Cable Plus Property. Like, follow our pages, and share our posts as well. My name is Oiza. I'll see you in the next video.